Okay, this video has discussion of your third programming assignment, Program 3, which I have named Quadratic Equation Modified. So what we're going to do is we're going to take your Program 2 and we're going to make some modifications to make it better and to eliminate some of the issues that our Program 2 might have had. For example, trying to take square root of a negative number or dividing by 0. The way we avoided that in Program 2 was I just told you not to run anything other than specific test cases I gave you. So now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of change a little bit how this works and add some error checking, if you will, trying to catch those conditions that are not good. So in Program 2, you read the coefficients by prompting the user for them one at a time. This time we're going to read them on one line separated by commas, and then you'll need to, from that, get the value of A, B, and C. And then one check you're going to add is you're going to add a check to when you calculate the b squared minus 4ac, you are going to make sure that that does not come out negative. If it comes out positive, then you go ahead and take the square root, that's fine. However, if it comes out negative, what you want to do instead is not perform the calculation. You just want to tell the user that there would be a problem and that you cannot divide, take square root of a negative number. The other thing we did before in your previous program, when you used A equals 2, B equals 4, and C equals 2, it would say there are two roots for this equation, but those two roots it printed out were exactly the same. So once you calculate the two roots, if the two roots are equal, then instead of saying there are two roots and repeating the number twice, you just want to print out there is one solution or one root to this equation, and that root is blah. So don't say it's 2 when in reality it's 1 is basically what it boils down. The other thing is A cannot be 0, otherwise we attempt to divide by 0. So if A is 0, just tell the user that that is not a polynomial equation. You know, that's not going to work. So there's the changes that you're going to be making from Program 2 to your submission for Program 3. Now down here I have 8 test cases that I would like you to run. I would like you to run them first in the order specified. You'll notice that the first 4 are exactly the same as Program 2. So you'll want to go back and check the roots you get in Program 3 to make sure they're the same as Program 2 to make sure you didn't break something. And then there's 4 more test cases, and you can rest assured that these test cases will exercise these new changes or additions to your program to make sure they're working correctly. Now then, as a programmer, you need to learn about designing test cases. So what I asked you to do is, ignoring the 8 test cases that you would have already done up to this point, I would like you to come up with 5 test cases on your own that adequately test your program. Basically what I do is I have different things I'm checking for on my key. I will find your first 8 test cases, make sure they're correct, and then I used to do this physically, but mentally I'll draw a line there, totally ignore all those test cases, and then make sure your 5 test cases adequately tested. Anywhere I say if or check, that probably equates to a test case, or at least you should look at it and see if it does warrant a test case. You know, the obvious one is a equals 0. If you add the code to check for a is 0, then one of your test cases needs to have a value of a being 0. So that last paragraph is what I just said. Here's some notes and tips. Some of this is not true. Well, maybe the first time you're using it in a programming assignment, so I'm just refreshing your memory that an if statement with just one block of code is if expression colon block of code. If you have one alternate, then you use or a dual alternate, two possible things to do, then you use if expression colon block of code else colon and then a block of code. So that's just refreshing your memory. Also, if you need to terminate the program early, like for example a equals 0, you tell the user, hey, you can't do that, I can't divide by 0, and then at that point you want to terminate the program because you don't want to continue on. There is an exit function that is simply exit in parentheses that will immediately halt execution of the program if it attempts to execute or if it does execute that. Another thing is, since you're putting the numbers all on one separated by commas, you know, you can kind of combine this together and have three variables on the left hand side of the assignment and then prompt the user, and then whatever they enter you will split on, for example, comma. So that's pretty much the line you need, or you should be able to deduce a similar line from that example. And then at some point I'll stop saying this and expect you to know this and count points off if you don't do it. But every programming assignment you submit should have a standard header as well as comments throughout the code. And like I said, repeating it, if you don't adequate comment and or you don't put a header or a correct header, I will, as time goes on, start deducting points, and from programming assignment to programming assignment, those points will increase. So that's a discussion of Program 3.